I invite you to take the floor. Please have the presentation on. I'm talking about presentation of Mr. Oleferenko. Thank you. Is there? Dear colleagues, we start the discussion on the internal market.
Present you with who's going to be participating in this panel. Unfortunately, Larisa Kovalchuk has just informed us that she will not be able to join us, unfortunately. On the side of the producers, going to be representing them. My name is Andrea Lefirenko. I am the founder of the Ecorod, and Olena Stratovich, who's going to be presenting organic milk, Alex Agro. On behalf of the state sector, we're going to have Marina Kaslitska. She's going to be representing the Department of Organic Production in the Ministry of Agricultural Policy of Ukraine. And we're going to have a delegation of the Good Wine Shops, who is the leader in the organic product sales. And I'm hoping that we will be able to ask them some questions, and it's going to be very interesting for all of us. So now let us take a look at the domestic markets. Back in 2012, when I've started to work in the processing of the organic products to the ready-made products, I've also always was interested why we do not have so many organic products in our shops. Because when I've started working on that, well, I had this feeling as Ukraine is a very big iceberg that produces a lot of commodities, but raw commodity, but we only see on our shops shelves just a very, very top, just very 5 or even less percent of it, because we do all understand how rich Ukraine is if we're talking about the very good quality production of the agricultural products without additional chemicals. But what we can see in our shops is just a very small part of it. So right now the situation is bad. Okay, maybe not right now, but before the full-scale invasion, the situation got better, but we will try to figure out what is going on. Unfortunately, when we're talking about the statistics, for example, or when we're talking about the figures on sales, when you can only see that we have it only for the year 2021, when I'm talking about the year 2021, that the pre-full invasion year, because we understand that in year 2022 there was some troubles and challenges in doing the statistics, but I do hope that the representatives of the organic standards, they will be able to provide us a better statistics, updated statistics soon. So let us take a look at what did we have in year 2021. Category-wise, so I think that people who have been in the market, they have already understood all of that, but let us take a look at that. Of course, the dairy products are the leaders in the organic products, so I think that Olena Stratovich really needed to be invited to our panel, and you know that your dairy products are the leaders in the market, that's for sure. So the dairy products, and we do understand that this is the leading products in organic sector. I think that if you would see this kind of the statistics and kind of data, we will be able to understand the reasons as well, because the main associations for people, for mothers who trying to also provide the good nutrition for their families, that's of course they're thinking about the dairy products first of all. Then you can see that there is the overall products, so the different types of cereals, different types of flours, different types of grains, and then the next products, you can see that we have in this, there is a very big gap between those two first leading categories. How can I explain that as a producer? But for example, when we're talking about most of the grains, most of the cereals, and we're talking about the dairy products, that's more or less a simple way to produce. You don't have a lot of components in there. If we're speaking about the multi-component products, it means that the producers need to collect all of the components together, to find those components, to make sure that you will have a sustainable delivery of those products, that they will be all certified, and only then you will be able to get to the shops. But as an example, in an example of 2021, we now see that there are new categories of organic products that are being seen. And that is a very important thing for us, a note for us. This is a very brief detailization on the categories that we can see. You can see the organic dairy products, so you can see also the organic grains and cereals, and organic fruits and vegetables, just to give you the overall outline. What is also very good for us, then you can see that we're talking about the dairy product production, that you can see that there is a huge part and huge share of the processed products. So it's not just milk, but it's also the sour milk. It's also the, when we're talking about the cream, sour cream as well, and butter, because that also gives us a better amount of products available in our product shelves. And just very briefly, the situation that we had and what we have thought about the year 2022, that the information from the brand store agency, they have just made this kind of a very brief overview brand-wise when we're talking about the organic products and the brands that are represented in specific categories. So we're all aware of the organic milk, of the old products and ethno products in dairy. We all know the others in the groceries brand, but what is very good that in year 2022, even despite full-scale war, so you can see that there are new products being launched into Ukrainian market, which very good for us as well. Let us be honest, those launches have been planned for in 2021, but the products to be launched and for us to be able to see that in open sales in year 2022, that's very good. That's really cool. The same thing for the vegetables and fruits, and everybody knows those brands. And you can see that the Danube Agraria that's are also providing a lot of products. So you can see that different types of the berries. So we have Yulia Voloshyuk here, who has already been presenting today. Unfortunately, we don't have our company here, even though we had a project on the organic watermelons, but currently it is on the occupied territory, and we do not know how soon we will be able to get back to it. We hope that we will be able to restore our production next year. Also in the snacks categories, organic snacks, it's really good that in year 2022 there have been some new brands that entered the market. We have a Brancho trademark. They're doing now that they're working with the different types of marmalades, and that's very interesting of what they're doing. I do understand what it means to get a new organic product into the market from the idea to the implementation. It will take at the very least half a year, even if you're working in the very fast pace. Also, speaking about the year 2022, when we're speaking about the organic products for children, then we have a new trademark as well available. If, for example, the Chudo Chowder trademark used to be presented with the organic purees for children. So right now we do have the non-dairy non-dairy products that are now working with a trademark that So this has been a very brief outline just for us to launch the discussion, and we will have the discussion. But before that, Martina Kislitska is going to tell us a little bit about what we have in the organic regulations. For us, that's very important as for the producers, because let us be honest, what we are doing, that we have been working with organic starting from the year 2012. And, for we constantly, from my side, we do understand that for us, the organic sector, we are working with a very strict regulations. Those regulations are very strict and regulations are very transparent in the same time. But we are also very interested in, first of all, when the state is going to be working with the very same strict norms as we are following. That's the first thing. And another point that's very interesting for us is when the state is going to start prevent the violations from those producers who are, for example, labeling their products. There are some products already when they can see a lot of words being used on their packaging, like organic, bio, eco, natu products, like farmers products or whatever. So using like craft products, so using this labeling using this labeling illegally. So those producers who do believe that they can, for example, can use this words just to label them as an organic product in the market. We're working in a different regulation markets. So we would like to know what are the amendments and changes in our Ukrainian regulations right now. So please, Marina, the floor is yours. Hello, dear colleagues. I represent the Ministry of Agricultural Policy, and I'm the deputy head of the Department of the State Policies in Sanitary and Phytosanitary Measures. Do not be do not be surprised. In our department, we do have a department also that is working on the developing of the new norms for the organic products. I will say straight away that the building of the regulation field is the competence for the Ministry of Agricultural Policy now. In the previous iteration, the Ministry of the Economy was responsible for that, but the people that are responsible for these businesses is just the same. We've migrated between the ministries and mandate, but we are following our authority and we're doing what we had to do, but with a different branding. Speaking about the strict requirements that should be applied to the state institutions that are building policies in certain sectors as well. I wanted to outline that, the most active sector in the Ministry of Agricultural Policy is the sector of the organic producers. So our organic community is the most active because we are connected with one active working group. Our working group, our task force is very active. All of the stakeholders are represented there, the ones that have been working with organic production, labeling, or marketing the organic products. And everything that we have created in the regulation field in Ukraine has been created jointly. The business, the certification bodies, our international partners and international projects have been joining this work. We're asking them, inviting them for the consultation stages, for the discussion stages. So we're working on the projects that have been already piloted in many other countries as well. We've got prepared to our Congress. We've understood that there is some information that we have to provide to you, the information that would be interesting for our target audience. And we've tried to speak more, not about the achievements that we have, even though Marina is going to speak about that as well. So we have finalized the creation of the legal field that is needed for the Ukrainian market to function properly, for the Ukrainian market that is fulfilling its functions according to the Ukrainian legislation. But we still have some of the risks seen. We still see some of the challenges and some of the needs to continue our work further on. So Marina is a new person working in the organic sector. I will say it straight away. But our approach and the logic that we have been implementing in our department, I think that you will like it. So I will pass the floor to Marina and I would like to ask you for your consideration for our presentation. Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I also wanted to welcome everyone and would wanted to say that it's a pleasure for me to be joining the organic team as well. I'm sure that the results that the sector has already presented today is the results of the joint work for all of the actors in the market for the previous years. They have been working in all of the measures and in the policy and regulation measures as well for the development of the sector. For me, that's today's our event is a certain premiere, is a launch for my collaboration in the sector as well. So I just wanted to show you a presentation. So basically what I was able to outline as the most important things for us to understand today. Just very briefly, Ludmila has already said that the overall regulation field has already been completed. So we do have a framework legislation on organic in Ukraine that is implementing the three main regulations also that have been outlined by the European Union, that have been outlined in our association agreement as well. And this is the legislation that has been relevant in the European Union until 2022. That's something that has also uh, been there's also been our legislation is now complemented with that. So we do have the 5 decrees that have been approved. Uh, we have the 10 additional legislative orders. So those are the controlling acts. So that we have the 2 decrees that regulate that to regulate the possible inspections by the food services, who are outlining the period when these inspections should take place in the organic sector. And we do have two additional legislative orders. That was the most recent legislative work that has been conducted by the ministries, that has been the approvement of the controlling acts that give the opportunity for the state's food security services to conduct the inspections of the actors of the organic market for the operators and the certification bodies. There was one legislative order on the certification body inspections that is currently being given to the Ministry of Justice, and it should be registered anytime soon. So as soon as the final legislative order is going to be registered, then we are going to going to inform you, and basically will be able to also see the relevant versions of all of those bylaws and regulation acts. And of course, the regulating of the sector that has been in the market so before, so we need to set some of the rules for the market functioning of this sector. We know that there has been some troubles and challenges when all of this regulation happens, but we wanted to outline as well some positive moments for the development of the organic legislation frame that gives us the opportunity to speak about the effective regulation of the organic markets. First of all, the European integration direction of Ukraine is very important. Ukraine has chosen its path for the further development, and the implementation of the legislation is an important, following the legislation is an important part of this way. We have to set out the certain rules, and we understand that if we have the certain rules to follow, we will need to have the controlling bodies to check that as well. That will be the opportunity for the integral producers to have the good opportunity to protect their rights. So, has it already been said? For example, we have some producers who are only labeling their products as organic, but they're not following all of the other rules, and thus misleading the customer. But what is the best thing? That first of all, when the customers are choosing the products with a higher VAT, they're going to be buying the products that will meet their expectations. So whatever choice that they will make, whether that's due to the health issues or maybe due to the climate position of the customer, if they want to buy organic products, it should meet their needs and their requirements. And of course, if we're speaking about the statistics data, so we don't have the state-approved statistics yet. So I think that's going to be the first push for us to track certain dynamics. We're going to have the registers as well, the registers that the Ministry of the Agricultural Policy is going to be responsible for. And we're going to be further on implementing the legislation. We're going to have an open access to that. The most important thing that we're going to have a unified database, and we're going to be able to track in real time what are the operators available on the internal markets, what are the sectors that they're representing. And of course, there's going to be the environmental component to that as well, because unlike the traditional agriculture, if we are developing the organic agricultural sector, then we're speaking about the support of the farmers, and those we understand that all of those products used during the production stage, they're going to have less impact to the environmental component as well. And in the previous slide, it's also said that our framework legislation has been amended. There has been three main amendments. The main amendments were about the final revisions and transitional provisions. What are they about? Those are the amendments that have been provided in the couple of stages. The first in the foremost amendment is about the certification bodies. Well, the producers of the organic products that have been certified according to the international legislation, the foreign legislation, according to the European standards, they can sell their products until the 1st of July 2024. they are working in Ukrainian legislative frame as well. So we're not going to be using they're not going to be using those claims. There was a problem and then conversation with the anti-monopoly committee about that, about the differences in the registrations for till the 1st of July 2024. All of the operators that have been under the certification body control, so all of the institutions that have been certified according to the European legislations, they can be, of course, after this body is going to be certified, is going to be included in the national system, they can be already outlined as the national operators as well. For example, if they are in the transitional period, if they haven't been fully certified yet, then this period is also going to be included, which is a big positive moment as well. And speaking on the state support, we have this opportunity outlined. So it's till the 1st of July, not the 1st of January. There is the opportunity for all of the operators that have been certified according to the European legislation to apply for the support of the state budget for the money for the agricultural production.
A lot has been said about state support. I will give a brief overview of these. So if we are talking about organic sector, then the main law was amended in 2020, then the resolution has been amended, and also if there is this support available, and we do have that it will be imposed for a period. So in case the support is available, it will be introduced into the law on Ukraine, on state budget of Ukraine. So the mechanism is there. And there was some problematic issues with the Ministry of Economy, but the organic sector, I'm sorry, it's vice versa. The organic sector was in the Ministry of Economy, but the Ministry of Agriculture was responsible for these programs. So this issue has already been regulated. And what is topical in 2023? What is available in the budget? First of all, this is the program from the Ministry of Economy. This is on horticulture, on greenhouses. So there are some funds available in the budget. There is another program with the Ministry of Agricultural Policy. It was the order number 38. And according to it, about 200 million hryvnias are allocated for organic producers, in particular those who use meliorated lands. Is there any question? I'm talking about this order number 38. So it's 199 million hryvnias. So who we should go to you, to somebody else, when we are talking about allocation of these funds? So the old allocation order does not function, but the funds are available. So please tell us how we can get access to these. Well, the law, this order has been amended recently. The figure was slightly different. If you remember, well, I put this question and they stated it will be implemented till the end of the year. Well, another department actually is in charge of this issue, and if you need it, may give you some contacts. Unfortunately, there is no mic. So the question is, should the producers go to the regional administration? I think the information will be available at the website of the ministry. And also definitely there will be the information in the State Agrarian Register, because they constantly update the programs available. So the information will be there. Here you see some other programs available. Definitely the state program 579 is there, and the producers were really a bit worried whether it will be prolonged. And actually, in March, the decision was made that it will be prolonged. So this is important. Apart from the fact that we already have the legislation, it is being implemented. Implementation of legislation. If we are talking about the mandate of the Ministry of Agricultural Policy, the first stage is to confirm the knowledge of the competence of 31 inspectors working in the sector. At the beginning of the war, the commission was set up and 31 inspectors got their certificates uh, regarding confirmation of their knowledge in the organic area. As a result, these inspectors, actually the certification bodies, could have a chance to apply for certifications, or another mechanism was launched. And uh, we got some applications. There were not many of them, and on the 10th of March, we set up the commission, and there were certain examinations conducted. And once again, we have more applications, and the process is ongoing. So I hope we shall continue working in this particular direction. Two more bodies applied for accreditation and certification, and I hope that in April there will be a national body working on the market. So the moment all the documents are obtained, this institution will be registered in the among the certification authorities. So the moment we fill in the register of certifying bodies, then the register of operators will be filled in, and then the register of organic seeds and planting materials. The ministry is ready. I would like to mention a couple of words about the conditions of selling the organic products and what are the differences. It's really topical for the producers. After the transition period is over, now there are two options in the market. They are on top in the slide. We are talking about the organic product certified according to the EU standards and the organic product imported to Ukraine. We do hope that soon we are going to have organic products certified in the national system with the state logotype on it, and the legislation allows that the organic products certified abroad may be sold in the Ukrainian market if there is a relevant certificate for its copy. After the transition period is over, there will be the following options. First of all, this will be the products certified by the National Certification Authority, and it will be sold if there is certificate for production or sale. This will be imported organic products, and imported organic products will be sold in case there is the certificate provided by the national authority. Probably it will be the import certificate, because in our legislation it is said that the import products produced in another country is recognized in Ukraine as organic products. But if we are talking about retail, the importers are supposed to obtain the certificate from our national certification authority. And then there is organic products produced in Ukraine, which is to be exported. It cannot be sold at the internal market. It is export-oriented products. Summing up my presentation, I would like to say that there will be some potential risks during this transition period. First of all, only 2 authorities have applied for certification, and one of them covers the majority of operators functioning in the internal market of Ukraine. But for the market to have a chance to develop and taking into account that, for example, this authority may be excluded from the register because there are such options in the legislation. Definitely, we would like to have more authorities like this at the national market. So this is one of the risks. And another risk is that the certified products cannot be sold in the internal market of Ukraine. I'm talking about the products which are certified exclusively by the foreign certification authorities. And if we do not have the national certification authority, the risk is that the national operators will have to undergo certification procedure once again. This is the information for the producers, and it is more important for those who produce the organic products, which is to be exported. And uh, they are controlled not by those authorities which have applied for certification nowadays. And I would like to specifically mention the issues of control. According to the legislation, the control in the organic sector is done by the State Consumer Service of Ukraine. We have a peculiarity in our law. For example, unlike the food and feedstuff law, this control covers the certification authorities, the operators, and this is something that is very topical for you. So what is the peculiarity? The operators are those who produce the products, who sell the products to the final consumers. So actually, the State Consumer Service of Ukraine does not have the competence to control the final sales of the product to the final consumer. So in case any shop sells pseudo-organic products, they are not responsible for this. Well, the State Consumer Service of Ukraine cannot control this shop with respect to legislation for organic products. And there is also an option in our law that at the stage of operator check, there, for example, maybe some products identified marked as organic products, and only in this case, the State Consumer Service of Ukraine may take certain measures to this or that operator. It means we as producers, particularly in the past, were giving some explanations. This is organic product, this is non-organic product. And then some producers said, well, why do I need to certify my product? I'm honest, that's okay. Some people were saying, well, their certificates can be bought, but I'm honest, I'm not going to buy this certificate for organic products. And I'm honest with you. This is actually a very painful issue for us as the producers. Well, we are also concerned about these issues. We would like to regulate this point. So what's the problem now? The retailers are not certified. So retail is controlled with respect of safety, and regular and irregular checks can be done with respect to safety issues. So what can be done in the market nowadays? The Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine have some competence. For example, when we are talking about the attempts to mislead the consumers, what is the procedure? Any consumer, any citizen, any enterprise may uh, file a complaint, and the case will be considered by the Anti-Monopoly Committee. There may be some fines, and there may be some preliminary decision. If the measures are taken by the producer, there will be no fines. But if the measures are not taken, the fines are quite significant. So there are now planned actions. So we are talking about non-systemic control. And definitely this issue should be regulated. Moreover, it should be done by the State Consumer Service of Ukraine. And we have prepared amendments to the order on the general order on food products and foodstuff. This is the order which is common for a couple of departments, and we would like to use the norm on marking or labeling the products, particularly labeling which is not true. We have a norm about the labeling that does not meet the legislation, but is not harmful for human health. So now we are trying to amend the law in accordance with the updated EU legislation. So we would like to address the situation and somehow manage this, because really all the measures taken by the producers, I mean the control measures, at some stage lose their sense. And finally, about our work, since the 1st of January 2022, there is the new regulation, which is functioning in the EU, and we have a task force working on this issue. My colleague mentioned that our representatives are very active. Moreover, some projects help us to directly communicate with those who have already some experience of addressing these issues. I'm talking about our German colleagues and many others, because the regulation of the Council of Europe does not regulate all the issues, and we have to settle them ourselves. And some more points. So what will be the changes in the regulation of the EU? The first point, the application area will be broader. It will be possible to certify the organic products directly related to agriculture, for example, leather, wool, cotton, and I think this is really positive because these products are produced during organic production and they may be sold. Again, certain procedures have been clarified. For example, what steps should be taken in case there is suspicions about pollution by forbidden substances. And the procedure is clarified. The authorities are mentioned. The steps taken by the operators and certification authorities are described, and definitely the shelf life of those food products are indicated. The next point is something new in the European legislation, and this is the opportunity for group certification. Ukrainian legislation will also have this norm. So far, we cannot make any conclusions how it's going to work. We have also had a number of debates and discussion on this topic, and this opportunity will be included into the Ukrainian legislation. I think that this is, again, the novelty for the European Union, and so far there have not been any examples. This is just the opportunity. This is not binding. Another point, the operating regulation is the one adopted in 2017, and it covers the all areas, and there are some control rules for the food sector. For example, the competent authority will delegate some competences to the certification authority. There will be less load on the producers because the risks identified by the certification authority and the competent authority may coincide in order to reduce the strain on the operators. So it will be possible to to delegate the authority and the powers to the certification authority. And another important and sensitive issue, the regulation 848 presupposes that it is possible to exempt from certification only networks who sell packed organic products, and those shops that sell not big volumes. And only such shops and retailers will be exempt from the requirement to get certification. This is a new issue for Ukraine, so we have to study how it worked before and what's going in the European Union. And all these issues will be discussed among the members of our task forces, and our legislation should be brought in line with that of the EU.
And once again, so that we were speaking about our domestic market. So right now we're going to be talking about the exporters. What are the changes in the European legislation as well? So the previous approach that was active about the certification according to the international standards and the European standards as well, the certification that given us the opportunity to acknowledge all of our certifications for the export needs, that's going to be only relevant to the 31st of December 2024. So we don't have that much of time left. Of course, the usage of the standards, it's mostly important for the markets. When using standards, it's something that makes the market in better harmony, but there is this kind of requirement for the European market. And as far as most of our producers are export-oriented producers, so there has to be also the re-accreditation for the new conditions. So yes, they're going to be working with this two programs right now. It is left, but unfortunately, if it's out of microphone, we can't hear the questions or the commentary that's been given. What it used to be right now. So before that, we had the European legislation, but now we're going to work with our domestic legislation as well. When it's changed in Europe, then we're going to have it changed in Ukraine as well. But we're starting with the exports and updating it to the new realities and the new conditions. So yes, those are the most important things that we have outlined for ourselves. But if you'll have some questions, happy to answer that. Yes, we'll have some questions. Yes, I'm sorry, but we're out of time already. So yes, I know that we're out of time, and we know that we've had some kind of backbone, and right now we have this backbone growing meat. So we do hope that it's going to already build up to become a good sportsman who is going to be really nice in performance. So just one question, and we're going to switch to the overall analysis of the market situation. Like you said, we had the backbone, but we started it for 2013. The law has started in 2013, but right now we're in 2023. Yanukovych has signed the law on the organic production, but that's not the point that I wanted to make. A very important question I wanted to make. A lot of people who have the land lots, they are taking away the land and they are going to become the self-produced farmers. And we talked with Taras about that. The 8340, it has presupposed different correlations between the organic producers and producers that use chemical chemical substances. So according to the Ukrainian and European requirements, there have to be certain limits of what you can use with the organic soils as well. But there is a different component. For example, you have used some chemicals for your soya plants, and the wind has brought it to the organic fields as well. Those limits that you have presupposed in the legislation between the organic and non-organic fields is not enough. There is a fine of 100 hryvnias. So, and this is something that we are going to expect. So, I don't know about the other regions, but in Zhytomyr, we have a lot of, for example, the single owners of the land, they do not want to rent out the land for you no longer, and they are starting their own farms. And there's also in the villages we have the private grounds that take 50 or 80%. They can use it, for example, for applying the soybeans, and they're using the herbicides, and we can. And this is something that can be impacting the organic fields as well. So maybe you can consider that as well. And we do hope for you as the new young person, active person, maybe you will respond to that challenge faster. And we need to consider that as well. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies. Unfortunately, we don't have time for the further discussion. We would like to ask for once again the presentation. To see who we have today. So let us talk about our domestic market, because we're really out of time, but we just need to discuss the situation in the market. So what have we seen? What have happened in this year? I mean, in year 2022, what have we seen in year 2022? And the next question, I think that would be one of the most important. And, in my point of view, as the producer, what is very important. Okay, we're now working in some way, but in order for us to survive, in order for us to continuing working and continuing developing, we should think of what it is that we have to do when we're going to win. So there's two questions that are very important. I'm going to maybe answer those two questions personally so that we can start and launch the discussion overall. For the year 2022, what we have seen that was a downfall that we have experienced, and the downfall from 30 up to 50% in the overall production when we're talking about the pre-war sales and pre-full scale war sales. So depending on the category of the products, it was very interesting, for example, for me to notice as well that since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we've had a lot of grocery sales sold, of course, but for example, our sweet snacks, the sublimated berries or the sublimated cocoas that were really tasty, interesting, but they were not sold at all. So basically, it felt like it was kind of a luxury product. So, people just said like, no, 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 I'm not going to buy that. Right now, the trend has changed overall. So people are starting to buy those interesting, tasty snacks. So people are now having some price to buy additional products as well. So this was my try to answer the questions of what happened with the sales, for example, from my company, from what we have been providing, what we have been producing as well. And the second point that I wanted to start the discussion with, because, personally, myself and my company, in order not to, get mad and to go through these tough times, we have launched a lot of projects. And we do hope that maybe in a year or in a year and half a year or a year are going to give us an internal intensification as well. And they're going to help us to improve the efficiency of our work as well. Before that, I thought like, what do we mean by increasing the productivity of your work twice? So, I thought that if you worked like from 9 till 5, then right now it means that you need to work, for example, from 9 till 5 and do that twice a day. No, no, that's not like this. There's a lot of processes that you can automate. There's a lot of processes that you can, for example, add with some digitalization, so on and so forth. There's a lot of other moments how you can improve the motivation of the people. And this is the thing that we're working on right now. This is something that really helps us, for example, not to get fully consumed with this emotional stress, and this is something that gives us the opportunity to plan for the future. When we have this understanding, when we have this future, when we understand that we're living for the future, we're living not only solely in this situation, it really helps us knowing that the future will come. It really helps us to stay strong and to keeping up with that. But it's very interesting to listen to Olana and her experience as the producers. And we would really like to know from the example, the good wine representatives as well, what happened with the organics in their retail as well. Yes, I would add to what Andre has said. I fully agree with what has been said. And in our company, we also has lived through this crisis and we've tried to set out the timing really strictly. So there was a lot of things that what we do before. So for example, if for example in a day we used to process 25 tons of milk, so right now we need to have a half a day for that because we have a really strict limitations with time, and so there's basically we cannot afford working as we did before, so we're trying to save money as much as possible and trying to save everything as much as possible. Speaking on domestic market, yes, we have experienced the downfall as well. We have experienced the 35% downfall for all of the categories of goods. Well, it's not about the organic eggs, unfortunately or unfortunately, but the situation with eggs is quite different right now. But if we're talking about the dairy and meat products, then of course that's the market that has experienced downfall on around 35%. So we are picking on exports. There's a lot of issues that I can also discuss later on. But speaking about the domestic market, of course, we need to choose the top products, the one that are going to be the most popular right now, that there is the high demand among the our customers. We have been broadly presented in Kherson and in Zaporizhia, and so those markets are not available for us right now. The overall migration is the problem that impacts all of us. So basically, for us to be able to introduce effectively something was, first of all, to cut our costs and expenses. For example, we started an hourly planning of our businesses. And what we're doing as well, we're starting to promote those products that are in the most demand right now. So once again, we will be able to cut the costs because again, I have an extensive experience as a manager and I have no idea what it is that we can do today with our organic products because we have spoken about that in our internal discussions that we should switch to the non-organic production, but we understand that it will not give us any kind of benefits and we will be working with and we will not be doing the product good enough then. So basically, we are still working in organic, but we're trying to cut the costs as much as possible. And we're trying to do the systematization, the full systematization. We do a lot of planning, we do a lot of control, and we are praying for the war to end. And as soon as the war ends, I am sure that our product will be definitely in high demand. That's for sure. We're sure about that. The only thing that we ever have to do, we have to win. We have to wait for the victory. And I do hope that this is all that I wanted to wish to our colleagues to patience. Patient, 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 and everything will be okay with us. So I will pass the floor to our great director. I just wanted to say that we really love good wine as our partner. And we always say if we've had like 10 or 20 retailers as good wine in Ukraine, then all of the organic producers would have forgotten what the retail of product is because an organic producers would really flourish in Ukraine. So dear good wine, I'm sorry for addressing you like this, addressing you not with a name because I don't know what your name is, but I hope that you will be continuing to develop yourselves as well. I do hope that there will be more and more customers coming to you, and I hope that you will grow bigger and bigger, and this will be the best thing. And this is one thing that we wanted to wish you as well. So Artem, we really, really love good wine. Yes, really, thank you. But that's in good wine right now, what we have for example, the managers who are working with a couple of categories, I think that you can see it here as well. So I think that you can give us the outlines of the main categories. We don't want to get, the commercial secrets like, the uh, amounts of items, amount of units sold, or additional revenue that you received on that. But it would be interesting to know what is the market situation based on your experience already. Yes, hello. I really would like to say something positive, but I will have to speak about the reality right now. So, the organic market has downfall. It's around 50% compared to the pre-full scale invasion time. And starting from a kind fall, starting from autumn 2022, our sales in organic products started to grow. But then we had the blackouts, as well, and the electricity cutout that impacted the sales as well. I'm working with groceries, and not all people would like to buy buckwheats because it's really hard to cook, and it will have a growth in the porridge because it was easier to cook. And what we have seen, that's the demand has downfallen because a lot of women and children have left. So, for example, our ready-made dishes are really popular right now because men are actually buying everything that is ready-made and they're not buying the products that they have to cook themselves. Okay, but what will be first? So whether we're going to have the amount of this organic and healthy product for those mothers and children, and they will be back, or they will be back, and then for a couple of months, we're going to get those products back, and they will already switch to the other categories. What should be done? Well, I think that as soon as our clients, the ladies with children, are going to be back, then the organic demand will grow. Even though now we have the trends that a lot of the smaller suppliers, they're also switching to organics, and there's times. So there is the demand for that. And I do believe that the people who have bought organic products before, they continue buying organics right now, the people who have faith in that. There is the category of clients that, for example, are not really trusting the Ukrainian organic market. They do not trust the Ukrainian certification, and sometimes they choose the organic products that is produced abroad. But I do hope that we're going to be working on promoting the Ukrainian market as well. Yeah, so by the way, I have bought the Italian milk and yours. Yes, Ukrainian is tastier. Yes, everything is tastier. Yes, so I do believe that we need a bit of time. It's hard to say what to do right now because we do understand that the most important thing is for the women to get back, then when we will have everything more or less settled. Yes, thank you very much. That's interesting to know what's happening in other categories of products as well. From my side as a producer, I just wanted to add out that when we've had the blackouts, well, the big cuts outs when, for example, we didn't have electricity for a couple of days, then you had this very depressed feeling, and we can see how all of the sales fall. As soon as the lights were on, even if it was just for a couple of hours in a week, then the sales got nice as well. Well, the sales downfall, they were falling in the categories of product that needed additional processing, additional cooks. But speaking about, for example, the fast cooking products, they have been bought really, really fast. So I think that maybe we could think about this market as well of ready-made products or the ones that are fast to cook. Yes, that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thought. Yes, thank you. Hello. My name is Bogdan. I am responsible for the fruits and vegetables categories. I think that's just the same for us. We just have the same situation, so we would believe that around plus minus 40% of the downfall. But we've also had this situation that some of the producers, and we're working with the people who are located around 100 kilometers uh, around the shops. But our producers have been under occupation during spring. So a couple of our producers there were not able to work, and it's just right now they're getting back to business, they're getting back to their production. And also, the winter growing also didn't work out because if there's no lights, then there's no greenhouses and there's no vegetables. A lot of people have the modern heating systems and they cannot work with adjusted batteries or alternative supply, but so it's really hard to work with that. So right now people are getting back to their position as well. They have some positive understanding. We already have the organic cucumbers coming on, so our colleagues from Kharkiv are already growing that, and there are the smaller local growers also starting to get to some amount of supply. But once again, we do not have the big sales because we don't have women, mostly women, where the men are our buying power. So yeah, basically women. Yes, well, yes, the man they were basically buying everything that you can buy that already made. So the ready prepared salads. So they're not going to be choosing the direct vegetables and fruits. Yes, thank you very much. That's very interesting. Hi, my name is Artem. I represent the dairy department. If speaking about the dairy department, then I think that we have experienced the downfall of around 50–60%, because as my colleagues have said, then basically the biggest product baskets of our customers was provided by women and children. So the people who have left here, and if we're talking about the overall our sales in the shops in all of the categories of our products, then we're experiencing the downfall from 40 to up to 60%. And up till this new year, we have seen this downfall stopped. And right now it's in a standstill. So I would say that the problem is that we do not have people. So we had a lot of people that have left Ukraine, and not just women and children, but there's a lot of people who have migrated and who have left not just Ukraine, but who left Kiev and who have already taken their businesses to the west of Ukraine. So that's something that impacts us as well. So this is we're going to be experiencing that unless we have the people back. When there is lesser people, then lesser people are buying our products. And speaking about the organic markets, if we're talking about the dairy products, then there is a specific type of the products because there is not a big price. Yes, so we're really grateful for this dairy products. We don't have this high price or high differences between organic and non-organic products as in other groups. Yes, we do understand that is really hard for our suppliers to keep the prices on the very same level, but our shop is associated with that. We have been introducing the organic products for a longer period of time. We have tried to get people to better understanding of what was the difference between the different products. And this is a very long stage for the people to be aware of that. And it's a long path, a long way, and we're trying our best to make it clearer for the customers what organic products are about. Unfortunately, we're only speaking about the limited amount of people that understand that. Yes, and I wanted to add up as well that unfortunately, the people who have left to Europe, they are the people who had a better understanding. Let us say they had a better understanding and they have understood what organic products are and what is it about. So those were the people who left, unfortunately. Okay, but we have already seen that, just to make up a brief summary. So we have seen this trend that there is, uh, so we have seen that, that we're ending up the stagnation right now, we're ending up the standstill, and we have some feelings and we have some chances that this line, this curve is going to end up and it's not going to grow, but at least we'll start moving and developing further on. And I do believe that when the spring comes, the mood is better. When the mood is better, then we understand that, there's also the different indexes, and the index of for example, the procurement that mood of the customers. And I do believe, like for example, in Kiev's experience, if you didn't have a lot of shelling in the longer time, that you believe that you can buy some things and not just keeping up the money for yourself. Yes, I just wanted to add up to one thing that you have said as well, that what we have tracked the trend already, that the people are trying to get back to the normal moral feeling and to the normal emotional state. And there is a big demand for organic products, for the superfoods, for example, for the things that are really helping to keep up with a healthy lifestyle and the healthy living. So right now they were going through spring and there is the basics need for the greens, for the salads. And for example, we have already seen some growth already. So I do believe that we're really hopeful for that. Yes, and the thing for the customers' baskets, what we have seen as well, that the people are getting back to the healthy nutrition as well and healthy eating. That is something that is really good for us, because before that, in the autumn, we have seen that people are trying to cope with stress with food. And right now we see a lot of customers who have seen and they're trying to buy the healthy products and they're also buying organic products. So we can see this trend rising. So maybe even the man that are going to be buying more organic products as well. I can only give my experience, and I just wanted to share with my experience as well. So, I had a big stress, and I've been really depressed before the new year, and I've also actually tried to use food as an antidepressant, and I've tried to eat it out. So, but then I've had a clear understanding that it's not sustainable. You can't take that long. So it's either that you're trying to get yourself out, or basically you're going to stay in this state for a longer period of time. And you kind of have to understand that you will have to pull yourself out of this situation. And when you're pulling yourself out, you're starting to keep on developing and moving further on. Yes, and just give summing up, I just wanted to have this one maybe desire from organic sides to the ministry side, because you have said about the legislation, you have spoken on the legislation right now. I think that in order for us to get to the exporting markets, if the state has certain certification of its own, then you're not going to sell your products at at the shops unless you are certified. For example, if the organic standards and the European LIF is being approved in the territory of the European Union and Europe, then and the UK, it's also they have their own certification system. And in order to get to their markets, I need to pass their certification as well. But you have said that in the Ukrainian markets, there is that you can sell to you to the products, only the certified products, starting from 2024, the product that will be certified according to the Ukrainian legislation. So we would like to ask you to do the same norm, for the important products as well. Oh yes, if it's presupposed. So for example, if our partner Good Wine is going to imports the dairy products, so they have to be certified as well according to the Ukrainian markets. And then there will be, yes, the importer has to provide the certification. They have to receive the certificate according to the Ukrainian legislation. So the certification of the flow. So the importer has to have the certificate according to for the passing of the border. So there's going to be the certificate that's going to be providing the correspondence to the organic production, but then there's going to be the certification for the imports.
But I cannot sell my products in the English market until I get their certification. So why do we accept them here? Probably it should not be for all the products, but at least for the organic products. Just imagine what kind of boost it will give to the organic market of Ukraine. Yes, the issue is what kind of certificates we can talk about, because we have production and circulation circulation is import, export, and transfer or relocation. And so far, we have two certificates for the foreign products, the origin and the circulation. So probably you should introduce some amendments into the project, and this amendment should be that the foreign product should be certified in Ukraine. This is a very good proposal. Yeah, this is a very practical issue, because I'm talking about our market. I have seen the situations when it looks like the foreign products are brought to Ukraine. It is marked as organic, but it costs twice cheaper as similar product of mine. And I understand that because this importer is not certified here, uh, it may take several tons, for example, of organic product, 1 ton of organic product, and then it may bring 10 tons of non-organic product, and will sell it as organic. So I'm waiting for the good legislation for us to be able to trace such cases. For example, we have the grain market. The grain is sold at the price $200 and it cannot be sold at 100. This is a fake. So we do need this certification. Well, the launch of legislation and implementation of legislation will tell us what kind of issues we should address. Definitely, we cannot talk about ideal situation, but we already have a list of problematic issues. We are going to pay attention to them. Dear colleagues, we have exceeded our time immensely. One more question, please, and unfortunately, there is no mic. Thank you. Thank you, Andrei, for addressing this point. And I would like to say that so here is the question. Uh, the, among the participants of our panel discussion are people actually who can influence this uh, issue. This is not about jurisdiction. This is about some generic point. There should be a demand on behalf of the organic producers. We are not talking about the jurisdiction of countries. We are talking about generic legal issue. And it means that there should be a commission established that will consist of producers, and we should probably prepare a declaration approved and certified by the notary. This is something we do in the Association of Organic Ukraine, where we have the Union of Producers. So we try to take a very rigorous look at the Ukrainian legislation, and we would like to actually make it proper. But this is not the issue of jurisdiction between the countries, but this is just a proper legal issue. And I have a question to you. You are the founder of Ecorot company, and do you have, for example, some environmental formula? So, for example, we have a formula for natrium, we have a formula for soap. Do you have a formula about these eco products? For example, eco coffee, which is not ground in our country. I think I'm talking about this organic coffee. Well, this is also environmental issue. Quite recently, I was talking to a person, and the person said that, well, it's so nice to have this environmental conversation with you. And I would say that the majority of organic producers are motivated by this by environmental issues. Probably during the first 4 or 5 or 6 years, it was not like business. For example, you have investments, then you have return on investments, and then you invest them again. And now you understand that this project is not only about finance, it's also about social issues, environmental issue, value-based issues, because the UN had addressed people saying, stop being vampires. We have to think about this issue. So in case we bring products from other countries, how we can operate within a closed circle format. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for this panel. Well, we are beyond our timing. Please, just one tiny remark, not a question. If you pay attention to the way the alcohol producers promote their products, it is done very quickly, and it is done not in a way that you see it. And again, organic products are not promoted. There are no advertisements. The population can get the information from the website of the Ministry of Agricultural Policy, which is not probably very popular among common consumers. So I would probably suggest that we think about the way how we can boost the awareness of our population in some simple forms. It seems to me it will be really good because that will enable us to sell more of such products. And one more issue I would like to mention about the work of the ministry. This is not only legislation. The ministry addresses many other issues. You know that there was the topic on organic feedstuff when we were trying to add, for example, 5% of non-organic feed, and this issue was regulated. We wrote some documents to 10 European countries. We were addressing the institutions in the EU. So what I'm talking about, the ministry is responsible not only for establishment of the legal field, but we do many other aspects, for example, communication with the State Consumer Service of Ukraine and many other things. We are open, we are transparent, we are ready to create favorable conditions for businesses. And on behalf of business, I would like to say that everybody should understand that advertisement of organic products is not the one in, for example, our TV marathon. Organic products will be consumed by people, by our population, when we cultivate this habit from the kindergarten, from schools. So right now we should start from agrarian educational establishments when we, for example, gave lots of knowledge to the students about organic agriculture. And from these, students will be able to get very quick feedback, will immediately see the outcome. I have two sons. One son is actually born not long time ago, and he is trying to find in the supermarket organic kinders. And this is because he was brought in this atmosphere from the very childhood. My elder son also has lots of knowledge about it, and he's trying to promote organic industry. So the task of the ministry, the task of the authorities to establish this culture at all the levels, and by doing this, we'll be able to achieve incredible results. Well, we definitely are limited in terms of functions, and we also cooperate with the um, German Ukrainian technical assistance. Definitely, we shall prepare some leaflets about organic industry, and we shall distribute these leaflets. So, well, there are some resources. We'll try to use them. We'll try to use different tools available. And we have been talking about this issue with Stefan Dressman, and we thought that probably support will be given in the area of certification. Dear friends, thank you very much, but really we are beyond our time, and thank you very much for being active in this panel.